Hello everyone, here I am in another video, and today I decided to talk about a theme that is quite controversial. Not exactly the theme itself, but what I will talk about it. But I think it's really important for me to talk about it because I've seen this trend being so hyped on the internet, especially in the beginning of the year. Now it's not that popular, but I guess eventually this year it will pop up again. I'm pretty sure about it. And that's why I decided to talk about it because I received a lot of content about it. And I was like, man, people are not being very intelligent when it comes to this topic. And I think it's really important for me to talk about it because I was some kind of victim of this. I don't know how to explain, but let's go to this video. And the theme is Frugal Chic, as you saw in the title. Why? Because if you think about it, being frugal chic is quite a good thing. It's not actually a bad thing. It's a way for you to save money, it's a way for you to be smart and think more before buying. So the idea itself is actually pretty good. But why I am not romanticizing it the way I've been seeing girls romanticizing it. But first, let's understand a bit what is frugal chic. It's a trend, some kind of aesthetic created by a content creator that I love so much. I'm a great fan of her, called Mia. I forgot her last name, but I will put it here. I'm really sorry, but it's Mia. Her name is Mia. She's British, if I'm not wrong, and I love her content. I follow her much before she started to talk about being frugal chic because she talks about investments that I really like it. Seeing a girl talking about it, which is not very common for us to see, we're like, man, I'm really enjoying this idea. But she started this aesthetic called frugal chic, and I was like, yo, I don't know if that's all because in the beginning of this year it started to be so hyped. Everyone was talking about it and everyone was selling this as a salvation for girls' life who have problems with consumerism. But let me tell you something, no, it's not save you. It will not save you from consumerism, and that's why. And the problem is not the theme itself, but the way you're treating this. Because being frugal chic, what is basically being frugal chic? It's basically you will think before buying. You will um prefer quality over quantity. You will prefer to buy high quality clothes and all and spend a bit more on these pieces because they will be high quality. You will like make everything you can to don't waste money, to don't spend money. And as I said, in theory it's actually a good thing. And also invest on like timeless pieces. And I'm talking more about clothes because that's what I saw most part of girls talking about. But I know the frugal chic trend is much more than clothes because I've seen many other things that I'll talk about briefly, especially like have your beauty amendments at home and all, which I think that are good things. But as I said, the problem for me is that it's being so much romanticized. This trend is being so much romanticized, and it can be end up being treated like any other trend where you spend so much money because alongside with this trend there's an aesthetic, of course, and it won't save your life. And eventually you get tired of it and you will come back to your old habits because no matter how good a trend is, it's not a trend that will change your mindset about your consumerism and about your expanded behavior. It will not. It's about here. It's happening here. And let's talk about it briefly. Because why am I talking about? Because I was a frugal girl chic. Actually, I still am a frugal girl chic, but it's not because of this current trend. I've been being frugal chic since 2020, but back then it wasn't called frugal chic. It was called actually minimalism. That's what we call it. Minimalism alongside with old money trend before old money was a trend, because back then there were another creators who got pretty famous once the old money trend got, like more known and all. They started to create this kind of content much earlier than when it, like pop up on media. you know Many creators, they were not like too famous, too hyped, but they were already talking about it. And I followed one of these creators, and she, like she preached the the evangelium of Frugal Chic, but it wasn't called Frugal Chic, you know. And I really changed my mindset. I really changed the way I wear, the way I buy. And back then I was only 16, you know. So for me, it was good, but it was bad as well. And I think it's really important for us to talk about the two things, not only the good part, but also the bad part. You know, the good part is you won't spend money on clothes. I have to say, I've never bought so many clothes because my parents, they, like they weren't this kind of people. They didn't give us so many clothes when you were like kids or teenagers. But I started to buy fewer, much fewer than I already bought. And don't get me wrong, I never bought so many clothes. And I started to be too picky about the clothes I buy. They had to be high quality, they had to be cotton or wool and all those things. And my clothes, they are pretty good, I have to say this. I started to think more, I started to choose better. And I think these are good things, because today I know exactly what I want. It's really, really hard for me to buy something that I don't want and end up don't using it. It's really, really hard. Most part of the time, I use everything I buy, and I like the clothes I have, and they're good quality. They last so much time. So this is actually a good thing. Buy good things is a good thing, you know. And I changed also my personal style, and I started to dress more politely, more elegant, more on money, as you can say this. Not completely, because back then on money wasn't a trend, so it was really hard to find on money clothes here in my city. So I couldn't wear the way I wanted because I couldn't find the clothes I wanted. Sad, but if I found something close to on money, I always bought it. And as I said, it made me more conscious about what I put my money on, and not only about clothes, but also about, like beauty products, makeup. And though I will say that it doesn't work so much with makeup, because I like makeup so much and I use a lot of makeup, and my makeups they last so much because I actually use them. I actually like them, and I have many makeup. And last year I had to, like put a lot of my own makeup on trash because they were pretty old and I couldn't use it anymore. But a part of makeup, I'm quite conscious about what I waste my money on. Hair products, body products, and skincare, everything. I'm really, really careful when it comes to buying things. I'm not like addiction, like not addiction, addicted to in buying. And I think being frugal chic, minimalism, actually helped me. And I have to say, this is a good thing in general. This is a good thing. But also, I have to talk about bad part. And this is the part that people don't talk about, especially now that it's on trend. First, it's really hard for medium class, you know, middle class, lower class to buy good quality clothes. I'm really sorry to say, but that was my case. I wanted to buy good quality clothes, high quality clothes, but I'm not rich. I'm middle class. So I couldn't buy it. Of course, I don't buy trash, but I understand that some materials, they are expensive. And if you search about how they are produced, you understand why they're expensive. You will not question why they, like put the price on that. But it's not accessible to my reality. So for example, my dream is to have some silk thing, some silk, like I don't know, maybe a sleepwear, a dress. But silk is really, really expensive. And to be honest, I don't even find in my daily life, I can't even find silk being sold in the stores I usually buy. Because the stores I usually buy are from my class. And they know my class can have access to this. So it's really hard for us to actually buy good quality clothes. Of course, we have alternatives. For example, cotton. I can buy a good cotton for a good price. But I understand that someone who's from a lower class than I cannot buy the same clothes. So it's really beautiful for you to, talk about it. Buy high quality clothes. But if you're not from a higher class, you won't have access to this. Even if you don't spend money, but you have to understand that our money are not just for clothes, for beauty products. We have bills to pay. So our priority will always be our bills, because I think no one wants to be on debt, So high quality pieces are for high class, like so I think it's quite utopic for you to say to a ton of people buy high quality clothes because they're much better. You won't have to buy anymore. But you have to understand that for poor people, even if they don't spend money on silly things, if they save money, this high quality you're talking about are not accessible to that. It's not. So we have to be realistic sometimes that sometimes being frugal sheep is not part of a reality and we have to accept it. Or we dress something we like or we don't dress, basically. So that's why I started to be so picky about these materials and started to focus more on things I like and things that I can buy. Of course, I won't pay so much money on a trashy thing. Of course not. For example, I was scrolling a luxury brand website and I saw many clothes. They were beautiful, they're stunning, but they were all made from polyester and I was like, man, I will not pay this amount of money on polyester, because it's completely crazy. Even though I had this money, I wouldn't buy this brand. I would prefer to buy another brand that actually sells good clothes, So that's the mindset you should have, But if you want to buy something that is not expensive, that you can buy, even though it's not that high quality, buy it. If you like it, buy it. The problem is then you allow yourself too much. That's the problem. That's when the real issue appears because you are allowing yourself too much to having things you don't need just because you like it. But once you start using it, you see that you don't actually like it. You only bought it because you had that urge to buy something, you know? And another thing about being frugal chic that nobody talks about when it comes to style now. Not exactly clothes. um let me tell you something. Frugal chic style is boring. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the reality. And I'm talking about it because that's my style. And it's boring. And I'm trying to make my personal style a bit fun, a bit more funnier this year because honestly, I was tired of being so boring everywhere I went to. I've seen people, like having small details on their looks, but it has a personal touch that you see, man, this, for example, this t-shirt really matches this person. But in my case, I was trying to be something I wasn't because I was being bored. I was wearing the most basic clothes only because they were high quality and I ended up being boring. I didn't allow myself to use something different because for me it would be a waste of money. So yeah, frugal chic style is boring. Of course, it's really important for you to have high quality clothes, good basic clothes. I myself, I have amazing basic clothes. I love my basic clothes, and in general, I use them. But basic follows the same mindset as this is a foundation for your look. Your look is not complete with a high quality white t-shirt, a jeans, and a black boot. No, it has to be something more, you know? So being basic is boring, and I think that with time you're like, man, you've seen our photos and sometimes you don't even look actually put together on events because you don't even have a good clothes to use on those events, so that's what was happening to me. I look at myself and I was noticing how I was wearing high quality clothes, good clothes, but I didn't look put together because since I barely had clothes, I ended up wearing the same clothes and I didn't have the right clothes to use in some kind of place because I couldn't waste money on this kind of clothes, because I will not use it. But it's good to have in case something appears for you to go, you know. Another thing, timeless clothes. There is no such a thing as timeless clothes. It does not exist. I'm sorry to tell you this, but there's no. Many people will try to convince you that some kind of clothes, some kind of shoe is timeless, but it's not. It's not. It will get dated at some point. And you can tell me, oh, but what about the white top? White top is timeless, but the style changes. It's not the same white top that is popular. If you take photos from the white top from the 60s, are completely different. It is completely different from the 90s and the 2010. Different styles. The white top, like in theory, is the same piece, but it changed a lot. So even timeless clothes is hard to talk about it because every decade will have some specific style of the same clothes, and this style will end up being dated. And the best example I can give you, jeans. Jeans is timeless. Is it actually? Because you have to think about the jeans we used in the 90s is not the same jeans that they used in 2010 to 2015. So till 2010, people used, like skinny jeans. Everyone used skinny jeans. Once we get into the two, like 2020, it was wide leg. Now we're still in this transition, not wide leg, but also not skinny. It's more like a straight jeans. So it is always changing. The popular style is always changing. So they're not timeless. Clothes are not timeless. And also, if you buy something, oh, but it's high quality, it will last forever. No, it won't last forever. A lot of things can happen that will damage this clothes. Your body is always changing. So maybe this clothes won't serve you anymore. It won't fit you anymore. You have to think about all this. You may gain a bit of fat. You may lose a lot of weight. And this timeless clothes that will last forever because it's so high quality, it won't fit you anymore. So, is clothes actually forever? Are clothes actually forever? They are not actually forever because a lot of things that can happen. You can, kind of dirty your clothes and this dirty never disappear. I don't know. So you have to think about those things. You know, when you're consuming this kind of content, you have to think about this, because even though it is a good content that will help you to be more conscious, that will help you to think more before buying, you have to think while you're watching this kind of content. You can be influenced by everything you watch on the internet. You have always to have this critical thinking about, is this content actually worthy? Am I actually considering everything that is being said right here? And the last thing I want to talk about is not actually about what Mia said, but another content creators are talking about, that was the beauty management at home. Basically, do your own nails, do your own, designing your own brows, doing your own makeup, cutting your own hair. And I was like, man, I've been doing this like forever, except for cutting my hair because I'm not crazy to try to do this. But I've always done my own nails here. I did it. My makeup, I myself, I do my own makeup. I never paid for anybody to, like make a makeup on my face. Do a makeup on my face actually. My hair, I finished it. I styled it. My brows, I designed it. And I have to say, it does not, it is not better than a professional doing. I've always done my own brows. I've always designed it. But when I pay for someone to do this instead of me, the results are much better. Right now, I'm passing through a hard time on my brows because I literally destroyed it, and I'm trying to make things better with a pencil. And I'm basically, like drawing a eyebrow here because I made shit here. I did shit here, you know? And if I have paid for someone to design it, it wouldn't happen. But I didn't because I didn't have money to that. That's life. When I pay for someone to, like do my nails, it's much better. It looks much better, you know? Even though I like doing that, I actually like doing that. But uh, if you're not a professional, your work will not be better and will not, like substitute. And I forgot the word, but I will use this one. It will not substitute the work of a professional. It will not. Your work, if you're not a professional, will not be better. It will not even be the same. It will be worse if you pay. So there's no problem for you to pay for a professional to do this kind of things. It's not the problem. It's not a problem for you to pay for that. The problem is if you're doing it in a way that you can afford it. If you're paying like every week, it's not necessary. If you can afford having it and you're, like getting in debt to get those kind of things, that's the problem. That in these cases, it would be better for you to make it at home, do it at home. But if you have money for that, it won't, like, you won't miss this money in the end of the month. Why not to pay? Why not? Because if I could, I would. You know, I said here before, I I designed my own eyebrows because I couldn't pay for that last month. I couldn't. If I can pay, I will not pretend that I can. I will not get in debt only to have an eyebrow design. No, I will, as I said in my maternal language, I will do my jumps and I will try to find a way to get my eyebrows done. And that's it. That's life. If you can pay for that, you want to spend on money on that. But if you have money and if you want it, there is no problem. There's no problem for you to pay for that. You shouldn't feel guilty for paying for something that you can't pay for. It won't miss in the end of the month. So just pay for that and be happy, The case is, for example, you have a financial goal and you have to save money for this financial goal being achieved. In this case, I would recommend you to make some sacrifices, and maybe this beauty management things stuff would be a good cut for you to save money. But if it's not your case, girl, don't think twice. Don't be don't forbid yourself of having things you like, of doing things you want to do only because you're trying to pretend to be something you're not. So that's the case. When I got, like last year I really wanted to buy a ring to myself. It would be like a birthday present, and I didn't allow me to buy that ring because I was too afraid of spending money on that. And I ended up being sad because I didn't buy it. And now I'm trying my best to buy it because I really wanted that ring, you know? And now I'm really sad. I'm waiting for the right moment again when it has a good price again for me to buy it, because now it's really expensive. Back then it was on sale. And I don't want to talk about it because I will get sad again. But that's the problem of this kind of mindset. You will start to forbid yourself of having things you want, having things you actually like, because you cannot spend money, you cannot waste money. And sometimes the problem is not on what you waste your money on, but if you're doing this in a way that you are not even thinking before buying, you know? So that's the video. I hope you liked it. You don't have to agree with me, but that's basically what I wanted to talk about. And see you in the next video. Hope it came out tomorrow, okay? So bye.